Hi everyone, in this video we are going to take a look at how to import records into ServiceNow that contain references to other records in a table where there is more than one unique field or one field that uniquely identifies that record. More than one index, coalesce field, whatever you want to call it. Not just one, which is usually the case, but two or three. So how will we achieve this? Well, stay tuned, continue watching, let's find out how. In a previous video, we used this JSON file as a data source. This JSON file contains some locations, 5 of them, 2 suburbs, 2 cities, and 1 state. They all are uniquely identified using this Geo Region ID field here. So we've got a 10 here, a 20, and so forth. This region ID is also important because we have a hierarchical structure here, just like in the regular locations table in ServiceNow. So there's a reference here to a parent. So we've got 100 there, another 100, and a 1000, and so forth. Okay. Unfortunately, this was not the file that I retrieved from an API that I connected to recently. It was, in fact, this one here, or at least a version of it. The version that I connected to, that I retrieved, contained thousands of files. The one that I've got here just contains 5, just for demonstration purposes. If we have a look here, we've got the same fields. We've got Geo Region Level 1 here and Geo Region ID 1 here. We've got a Region ID 2 here for Indooroopilly, which is a suburb of Brisbane in Australia. If we have a look here, we've got another Geo Region ID of 1. We've got another Geo Region ID of 2. Ouch. Okay, and we've got a third Geo Region ID of 1 for the state of Queensland. These Geo Region IDs are in fact unique within their own respective levels. So the level 3, which indicates a state in Australia, this one is a unique identifier within that level, a unique identifier of the state. Similarly, the region ID of 1 and 2 here for Brisbane and Redlands are unique within the level of 2, which is a reference to a city. And the same goes for these 2 suburbs here. That the ID that we've got here, unique, yeah, kind of, within the level. In this case, 1, which is the suburb level. Okay, so how are we going to deal with this? Okay, so if we want to reference a parent, we can't just use this one Geo Region ID field. This is actually what we did in the previous video we looked at. Okay, we actually went to the parent field map and we specified the Geo Region ID or that target field in the target table to be the referenced ID. Okay, because it wasn't the sys ID, we're actually going to use this ID here. However, we now have a little bit of a dilemma, but we have a solution. We have the dilemma, the problem that we have is that we've actually got 2 fields now that together uniquely identify a record that we want to reference as the parent. So we can't just use this identifier here, the value of this field here, Geo Region Parent ID. That will not suffice for us. The system will not know which one to select. Is it this one here, the suburb, Toowong? Is it the one for the city, Brisbane? Or is it the one for the state of Queensland? Okay, so let's go to our table that we were looking at before in the previous video. The same table, the same location data we're saving here, so nothing's changed here. If you haven't looked at that video yet, take a look at it. I go through the structure of this table very briefly. And if we look at the form itself, again, pretty straightforward. ID, name, level, parent in the list. Nothing dramatic. Nothing really to see here. If we go to our data source, I've got a new data source here with that new JSON file as an attachment. Okay, specified the path to get to the array for all those records. And I've also gone ahead and done or created a transform map. So if we have a look at that here, the transform map is similar to what we had before, containing those 5 fields that are mapped to the target table. So nothing really new here. I'll actually set 2 fields to be coalesce fields, which I haven't done yet. So that will be the Geo Region level, and also the ID of the region, the one just underneath it, that one as well. There, we'll just set that to true as well. Okay, similar to what we did in the previous video, I've got a little transform script here as well. If we take a quick look at that, we explained in the previous video that we use this little transform script just to take selected records for the import. Because we're referencing parents, we need to have those parents in the table first before we can then import the children. So I'm just doing the import batch by batch here. So initially I'm just taking the states here, which is the level 3, and then I'll take the cities, and then I'll import the suburbs. Okay, so that's all I've got at the moment. Oops, let me come back to the transform map. And what we'll do with the transform map, we will set the parent. I'll just cancel that. We'll set the parent field map here, this one here, to the value that we had in the previous video, which was the value in the target table, the referenced value field name. Because we're not going to use a SysID, we're actually going to use this value here, the geographic region ID. So let's pop that back in here. Geographic region ID. Okay, there we go. And save that. And let's just run the transform and see what we get. So initially we're only going to import one file, the state, so we shouldn't have too many problems with that. If we have a look at the file again, we've only got one record that is a state, which is the state of Queensland, and it actually has no parents. So yeah, shouldn't have any problems importing that record. So let's go ahead and do that. I've actually loaded the file already, so I think I'm good to transform it. So let's do that. And let's go ahead and have a look at our target table. And we've got the state of Queensland. Okay, hooray. Okay, we can check that box. We've imported the state. All right, let's move on to the cities now. So I'm going to go back to my transform map. And as we did in the previous video, I'm going to change the onload script value, or the before script value rather, not the onload, the before transform script, the value that I've got in here, from 3, which is the state, to 2, which is the city. Okay, let's save that. And we'll just run the transform again. Go back to my data source here, oops, and load those records once more. And run the transform. Let's see what we get. Okay, so back here, do a refresh. Okay, yeah, we've got a little bit of a conundrum. Well, the IDs here, as I said, they're not unique. They're unique to the level, but not unique between every single record or between levels. So that actually looks okay at the moment. We've got our 2 cities that have the parent, Queensland actually. That isn't, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, parent Queensland. City Brisbane, Redlands, located in the state of Queensland. Okay, so far so good. Now, let's import the suburbs. If we have a look at our file again, we've got the parent ID of 1 for both of them actually. They're actually suburbs in Brisbane. But if we have a look at our target table here, we've actually got 2 references to 1, Brisbane and Queensland. So which one will the system select as being the parent if we just leave our transform map as it is? So let's just leave it as it is. Let's do another data load. Let's change the value of our on before transform script to 1 to pick up the suburbs. And then we'll go to our data source again and do another load. data source, and let's just see what the result is. All right, so load all records, yes. And run transform, yes. Transform. All right, drum roll, refresh. Okay, we have a problem. All right, we have our 3 records that were there before. Okay, they're all fine at the moment. Okay, but the problem we have at the moment is that our suburbs in Brisbane, Toowong and Indooroopilly, okay, they've been classified as suburbs, that's fine, but the parent should not be Queensland. The parent should actually be Brisbane, and Brisbane's parent is Queensland. Okay, so the way that this JSON file actually works is that the region level here, or the parent, should be 1 level above. So for Toowong, we've got a region level of 1. The region level should be 2 for the parent with an ID of 1. In this case, if we come down here to Brisbane, the region ID is 1 and the region level is 2. So that is our parent. So we need a way in our transform to identify Brisbane as our parent, because just relying on the ID here, it's not enough, because we actually have more than one of those records. So the way to do that is transform script. Okay, another kind of transform script. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to delete these 2 records, actually, these ones here that are incorrect. So let's go ahead and do that. Delete. Delete. Okay, and let's come to our transform map. Or it's our field maps rather. Let's come back here to our transform map, and we'll go and have a look at the field map for our parent. Because at the moment, that field map isn't doing the job for us. So if we come to our field maps here and go to the one for parent, the parent ID one, we can see here we've got a reference to the geographic region ID. We're saying that's basically the unique or uniquely identifies the record, but in our case, it doesn't uniquely identify the record. We actually need 2 fields, not just this field. We also need the region level field as well. And unfortunately, there's no possibility to put something else in here. It's just 1 field value only. So how do we fix this? Well, the first thing we do, we get rid of that. Okay, and what we need to do here is to set the source field, or actually set the source script field rather, to true. We need to use a script instead. Okay, because our calculation is a little bit more advanced than just specifying 1 field. We need to, what do we need to do? Let's take a look. We need to do a lookup for the imported record that we have. We need to do a lookup of this table to show us, okay, find me the parent with that ID and with this level city. Okay, and we need to do that with a script. It's not possible using the standard configuration. So we need to use a source script. So I've got one here ready to go, the region parent field map JavaScript. So we're going to do a few things here, similar to what I just described. So the first step here will be to set the parent level to be 1 more than the imported regions level. As I said before, the parent level will be 1 more. So if we're importing a suburb, which is level 1, the parent will be level 2. And this is what we do with these lines here. Okay, once we do have that parent record level determined, we need to find the parent record based on the parent ID and that parent level. So we need to do a lookup of that target table, assuming that those records have already been imported, and we need to find out, okay, what is the value of that record, or what record is it? We should only return 1. So if we actually find 1 record, then we're going to set the value of the sysid field to be the sysid of that record that we find. And then we return the sysid. And that's it. Okay, so let's copy that, and let's put that into our source script there. And before I save it, I'm just going to make one small change here to the region level here, because we're actually looking for suburb records which are a level 1, and then we want to find the parent level, which will be one more than that, which will be a level 2. So then everything else will work. Okay, so I'll update that. And then we can run the data load again. So if I go back to my data source here, and then do another load of that file, run the transform. And then if we come back to our target table and do a refresh, we now have our 2 new records here, Indooroopilly and Toowong, which are being classified as suburbs, and the parent for both is Brisbane. And that's it. Okay, so the main thing to recognize here is that in your field map here, for whatever reference field it is, you won't be able to rely on just one field as you normally could and specify that field value here, the reference value field name, to uniquely identify the record. If there's 2 or more records that you have to use to identify the record, you'll have to use a source script. And similar to what I've done in this source script here, just do a lookup of the table and to get the record that you need to classify as the reference record to put it in to your imported record. Okay, so that's about it. So I hope you found this video helpful, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.